Welcome to OverHerd at Deer Valley. I'm your host, Kaylin Richardson. I'm a two-time Olympian pro skier, and Deer Valley has been my home mountain for over a decade. Here I'm going to chat with different leaders, heroes, and characters about what they believe makes the Deer Valley difference. At any ski resort, the number one priority is safety, and my guest today plays a critical role in keeping our mountains safe and opening new terrain. Mark Chytka is Deer Valley's Avalanche Mitigation Supervisor, Bike Patrol Supervisor, Mountain Operations Safety Coordinator, and is also a mental health champion. Mark and the patrol team have been working tirelessly to open the new terrain this season and beyond. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start at the beginning. Where are you from, and how did you go from there to come to be here at Deer Valley and have all those different roles?
So I grew up in Laramie, Wyoming. I grew up skiing at Steamboat, love skiing. Early on in my childhood, we always used to go to the Warren Miller films. And in one of the Warren Miller films, there was a segment of avalanche control. And I was probably, 10, 13, somewhere in there. And I remember being like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
I want to blow snow up.
I want to blow up snow, right? Sounds crazy, but yeah, that's literally my job. And then, in college, one of my buddies was a ski patroller at a small resort called Snowy Range outside Laramie. And I was like, that looks like fun. So I joined and loved it to death. And then I finished college, went into the real world, got a real job, absolutely hated it.
What was the real job, out of curiosity?
I worked at a plasma donation center. It was awful. It was awful.
I feel like you made a good pivot.
Yeah, it was a good pivot.
Life choices.
Yes, for sure. I'm an outside dog. I have to be outside, and it's hard being inside all day. So, I applied for Deer Valley Ski Patrol, got the job 17 years ago, and here I am now as the Avalanche Mitigation Supervisor.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so for those that don't know the inner workings of a ski resort, can you explain the different jobs and what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, so it depends. It's a very weather-dependent job. So if it's snowing, we're obviously out doing our control work. We're getting terrain open for our guests and, blowing up snow. Where it gets a little more challenging is when we get into these high and dry periods. So, then we're really constantly looking at the snowpack, making sure that our layers within the snowpack aren't faceting, which means getting weaker basically over time. So we're checking on our stability of the snowpack, and our skiers, we thank them a ton because they really help us with what we're trying to accomplish by packing down the snow.
It's true. The skier's on it. It packs it down.
Yep.
It covers things up.
Yep.
This winter, we've opened 3 new lifts and over 300 acres of skiable terrain. What's been the biggest challenge with this year's projects?
The biggest challenge this year is just kind of learning all the nuances of that new 300 acres, how we conduct our end of the day sweeps, that it's completely changed how we do the bald mountain sweep, and then how we sweep out that new terrain. And then we're finding little things like when certain lifts go down, how the dynamic has completely changed from last year. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but we're really starting to get a handle on it and figure things out.
That's great, because next year, Deer Valley is virtually doubling in size, 7 new chairlifts, over 2,000 acres of skiable terrain that is completely new to everyone, including you. What have been the biggest challenges and hurdles in looking forward? What are you doing now to sort of mitigate, in a way, any sort of problems going into next season?
Yeah, so my focus is obviously on the avalanche side of the new terrain, and I feel very blessed to have last year out there working, and then this winter as well. And I think the biggest challenge for me is identifying all the areas that are potentially prone to avalanche, and we don't have a lot of data out there. There's not a big record history of that terrain having avalanches. So we have to get out into it and look at the trees, see where we think we've seen avalanches, look at the angles, the slope angles, make sure, this is steep enough, this isn't steep enough. So I spent a lot of time staring at CalTopo and drawing avalanche paths onto a map this fall.
That's so cool. And then roughly, from an ability standpoint, what would you say the new terrain is from an off-piste to on-piste ratio? Because I think a lot of people are so curious about that.
I mean, some of the lower terrain is like your classic, like Blue, Groomer, Deer Valley style, but the upper terrain is more advanced. And off-piste it's not like anything Deer Valley has currently, and it's a really cool opportunity. Big gladed tree runs.
I know, I've heard that it's like X-Files times 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 3.
Yeah, lots of little like rocks and like cliff bands and like really cool, interesting, fun terrain that's going to be, I think, a blast for a lot of our guests.
And I think that that's been a little bit of a misnomer. People think, oh, it's just a lot of greens and blues because they see it from the bottom of Jordanelle. And, we've got Green Monster Open, Age of Reason, which are just lovely blues and greens. But I said, you go higher up. And I had the privilege of going out with you last season and hopefully more this season with Ted Liggety. I mean, just name dropping and skiing some of that new terrain. And one of the runs we did that wasn't actually part of the original plan, but we had no visibility. You said, yeah, we can ski this powder terrain that was north facing, beautiful powder and steep.
Yeah. I think that one's called Hellcat.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Straight shot, and like you said, just amazing powder. And then the trees next to it are even more incredible once you get in there.
And when you're looking at new terrain, as far as an avalanche expert, are you also thinking about the kind of charges you're going to be throwing, whether it's, I don't want to say a grenade, I'm sure there's a better word for it, or off of a line, because we don't have any actual howitzers or anything around Deer Valley. Yeah.
No, and the Avalanche world is actually phasing out the howitzer for many reasons, safety being the first one. So what we use is it's a 2-pound penalite charge. We either hand deploy them by throwing them, or we put them on bomb trolleys, which is basically like a big pulley system, and we can roll it out into the slope.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And is it true that when you throw a bomb that you plug your ears but you keep your mouth open?
Correct, yes.
And explain why that is.
So the reason for that is the shockwave that the explosion creates can actually get you to get your teeth to knock together, and it can knock you out.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And very intense.
It's very intense, yes.
So a lot of guests are wondering, what is some of the terrain and maybe some of the names that you're looking forward to the most of the advanced type for next season?
I would say Hellcat. I mean, we talked about that one. And then there's another run just down the ridge to the east of Hellcat called Nemesis. That is just going to be, all the terrain is it's incredible.
Yeah, so those Deer Valley groomer skiers, they can stay on Flagstaff Mountain. They can do their Hawkeyes, their Sidewinders, which I love. Yeah. But there's also going to be new runs called Hellcat and Nemesis, and that's not something we've really offered as of yet.
Yeah, and then, I want to throw Redemption out there, which is the ridge down that we skied, and it's Stein's Way on steroids, basically.
Amazing. Redemption.
Yeah.
Stein's Way on steroids. I feel like that should, I don't know if that's going to be on a bumper sticker, but that should be on some sort of marketing piece.
Yes, for sure.
And then when you're dealing with unexpected weather and snow conditions on any of the terrain at all of Deer Valley, how does the decision-making process go into? Because I know that so many people, they so appreciate what Patrol do, but they always want to pressure you, being like, hey, when are you going to open this up?
Right. So when we're looking at the storm systems that we have coming in, the biggest factor for us is wind and wind direction. Our current terrain, southwest winds are kind of our problem child. So anytime we see southwest winds coming in with snow, we know that we're going to start building cornice in our avalanche paths, and that's one of the bigger driving factors. Early season is very touch and go. We're waiting. You have to have 3 factors for an avalanche. You have to have a bed surface, a weak layer, and a slab. And we always have bed surface to the ground, and then we dig our pits to see if we have a weak layer, and then we wait for that slab to get on top. And once we have those conditions, early season, we go out and shoot. Best case scenario for us is everything pulls out of those paths and goes to the ground, and then we can start over, get some fresh snow in there, put some skiers on it, pack it down, and just kind of build the layers on top of each other, and hopefully maintain that,
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
Keep it fun.
Yep, exactly.
Going into the 25-26 season, what would you like Deer Valley skiers to know about the new terrain?
Oh, that's a good one.
It could be from a safety standpoint, it can be from a purely fun standpoint, but what is something that you would like them to know as a ski patroller?
It's going to be unlike anything you've seen at Deer Valley before. It's like I said, the geography out there is just incredible.
You are an understated dude, but I see the sparkle in your eye, and we've hung out enough to know that those are some words to be excited about. Beyond your work on the mountain, you are also a mental health champion. Last year, you were involved with a documentary called The Paradise Paradox about the mental health challenges and sort of an epidemic in mountain towns and mountain places. How did you get involved, and what was that process like?
So I was a mental health, not champion, resilience team member for the patrol. And we were in a meeting and they were talking about a documentary, and they asked if anybody would be willing to share a story of, their mental health struggles. And I had a few years of mental health struggles, and I thought that this was my way to give back to our younger generation of patrollers. When I started patrolling, it was very tough guy culture. And we do what's called a 3-3-3 check-in, which means 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months after an incident. And when I started, the 3-3-3 was 3 shots, 3 beers, and 3 Advil, and get your butt to work the next day, and kind of suck it up. And I always just felt like I thought something was wrong with me. Why can't I handle these difficult calls? Why can't I just be happy? And what I realized is mental health is about acknowledging those feelings and knowing that it's okay to have those feelings.
Makes you human.
Yeah, it makes you human. And knowing that, it's okay to talk about those feelings. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's, it's really important for our younger generation coming in to not let this job change them, right? For multiple reasons,
And I think that you saying that tough guy culture, coming from you, which, forgive me, you come off as a tough guy.
I do, yes.
So I feel like that gives your story so much more gravity, because for you to be vulnerable, you're really going out on a limb, and that will give so many people the courage to come forward. Yeah. And I really want to thank you for that, because I've seen the Paradise Paradox, and you really are vulnerable, because the traumas that you have to experience as a ski patrol, they're real and they stay with you, and you have to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to get through these tough scenes and the feelings afterwards is to talk, because if you bottle it up, it comes back to haunt you quickly.
What do you see as the biggest challenges in the ski industry for mental health, and what are some of the advancements that you've hopefully been witnessing?
I think the ski industry is as a whole is changing quickly as far as mental health is concerned, and it's really promising. And Altera has done an amazing job supporting the mental health of their staff and creating the mental health champions group. The leader of that her name's Liza Tupa. She works for Altera, and we have monthly meetings about mental health. And we're just trying to get the message out to everyone that we're here, we're available to talk. We're not professionals, but we can help you find professionals if you need it.
And sometimes you don't even necessarily need a professional. You just need someone that can commiserate and say, hey, that's totally normal. Exactly. It just can take that weight off your shoulders. Yeah. And then what advice do you have for people in the mountain community, in the ski industry, or just anyone? What advice would you give them if they're having mental health struggles?
I would say it's okay to not be okay, and reach out. Find somebody you can talk to, reach out to anybody that you have, and, hopefully they can be that person that's, able to say to you, like, that really sucks, I'm sorry.
And lastly, Mark, where can people learn more about your work and stay updated on terrain openings?
DeerValley.com. The Mountain Report is a really good spot to keep in touch with what's opening and what's going on. And we usually write on there, if we're doing mitigation, we'll say pending mitigation, so that's coming down the pipe pretty quickly. And then as far as my work, and as far as Avalanche goes, Utah Avalanche Center is a really great resource for anybody looking to go into the backcountry or even just start learning about avalanches. They have know before you go classes, and they're a great resource for the community.
Yeah, and getting your Avy ones. I always tell people, if you're interested in getting in the backcountry, take your Avy ones,
yes.
Know before you go,
yes.
Or just stay in the resort, especially with over 2,000 acres of new terrain at Deer Valley. You don't need to go in the backcountry.
Yeah.
Just come to Deer Valley next season.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you heard it here first. Keep an eye on Deer Valley's website and social media for news and updates on terrain openings. Mark, thanks for all your hard work that you put in and your team puts in to keep the mountain safe and make this expansion a reality, as well as prioritizing mental health. I so appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thanks for having me. It's amazing.
And thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to OverHerd at Deer Valley for more behind-the-scenes conversations with the people that make this resort so special. Until next time, see you on the slopes.